Have you ever felt stuck between balancing the two processes of beat production and mixing and trying to fuse them into one? If you're like me, this is something that you've probably stressed out over. Basically trying to streamline the process of making a fire beat and also a high quality mix that you could replicate the process over and over again so that you can release a lot of beats daily so that you can get more clients and make more money. And if that's you, if you've stressed over this, then this quick tip is going to be for you. So let's take off our producer cap and our mixing cap and introduce another cap to the equation here, which is going to be the sound design cap. So a lot of producers either use, like myself, a separate beat machine that may not be the best thing for mixing, such as the Maschine. And then they would use a separate DAW like Pro Tools or Logic to mix the beat after it's been produced and arranged. Other producers just like to have that separate process of I'm just producing and now I'm going to be mixing. So here's what's been working for me recently, and I just wanted to share this tip with you to try and experiment because I know that you're probably stressed like I am that you can make 3 to 5 beats a day, but now you have to bear the burden of having to mix those 3 to 5 beats. One of the main problems with that is when you choose drums, kick drums, bass, 808, you think that that's going to be the best choice for the beat. And then when it comes time to mixing it and then making sure all of these things work together and then trying to achieve a certain loudness at the end, you start running into problems. And then you start realizing that, man, I think I chose the wrong kick drum. Is that you? Because that's been me 100 times over. So the reason why this sound design process I think works really well and why it's been working for me is because it allows me to layer different kick drums. A lot of stuff that I'm choosing has already been processed, so it should work, but sometimes it doesn't. But it allows me to kind of create my own kick drum. With my sound design cap on, I'm able to kind of like really experiment and see how these kicks will sound together. Let me show you a little bit of this process and break it down for you real simply. So here we are in Pro Tools. I got 3 kicks that I've layered. And this is what the first kick sounds like. I've normalized all kicks to -6 because that is my kick normalization number. It just, the math makes sense in my head. And that's where I like my kicks to hit at. So this is the first kick that I chose. Now that's your traditional trap kick. It's got a lot of good low end, good punch, some good top end as well, some distortion there. So it's already processed. This is not something that I'm processing from scratch. This should be ready for a mix or producing a beat. But I wanted to take it a step further. I added this second kick in here. And I'm going to use this more so for the top end. I wanted to add a little bit more top end to the kick, so I put on an EQ, rolled off everything up to 800 hertz, and I'm just getting this. And the third kick that I used, just experimenting. I like the tubby sound of this kick, added some click as well, and I think it would have been nice blending this with the original kick, and it did. But I did blend it in here as well, pretty low, and this is with phase alignment activated. So this is the kick now printed, and all the plugins that I'm using are the Voice of God, Little Labs Voice of God. I got an L1, which is dialing back on the gain that came from the Voice of God plugin, Saturn 2 for some tape saturation, and Gold Clip here for some clipping. My goal is to go for that traditional trap, modern, current, distorted kick drum. But I like to distort the kick drums under my control. I don't like any distortion that's outside of my control. So everything is level controlled exactly to how much I want to feed into each plugin. Hence the reason I have the limiter here. So let's go ahead and listen to what it sounds like. So here is the kick with all the plugins bypassed. The Voice of God, what I'm doing here, you might have seen in some of my previous videos, I use this plugin pretty much on every kick and every 808 bass that I mix. And what I like to do is with kick drums, I'll turn it all the way to 0, that's going to be around 60 hertz. And that's going to be the frequency that I'm going to be boosting up. That's going to be the corner frequency at the roll off. So this plugin is essentially a high pass filter rolling off everything gently, everything below the corner frequency that you set. I like 60 hertz in the kick drum. I like 40 hertz for my 808 bass. So I try to create the pocket. The initial move that I do is giving some low end reduction on the kick drum so that the bass can kind of swoop in and take over that area. Whereas then I will raise up some of the 60, 80, 100 hertz of the kick, which is, I think, it's going to be more in the chest when it knocks. And the bass, I'll reduce some of that area. And Saturn, we have drive, warm tape set at 60% drive, and I just kind of blended the mix knob into where I heard the effect, but it wasn't so overbearing. So this is what it sounds like before and after. So it just lifted the kick a little bit, nothing major, just gets the kick more out of the low end spectrum where the bass is going to sit. And that's kind of my goal when I add compression to a kick or saturation. I'm not trying to get more low end. Usually when you saturate the low end kind of diminishes and you get more of those harmonics that will be more audible in the mid range. So I'm just trying to lift the kick up just a little bit. And I could go more extreme, but I knew that I was going to feed the gold clip. Let's see what the input level is after Saturn, and that's how that's going to determine where I set my ceiling, where the signal that crosses over that ceiling will begin to clip. At good old -6. So we'll drop the ceiling here to -8 to get 2 decibels of clipping. So now the kick drum sounds louder because we're cutting off those transients, which aren't quite as audible, and we're bringing up the average signal, the body, the weight of the kick drum, which is more perceptibly louder to our ears. So we're gaining more level, which is a great thing while reducing peak level. And that's pretty much all I did with the kick. We're going to do a hard bypass here and listen to it without the processing again, and then listen to it with. Here we go. So it sounds like a completely different kick drum, and that's okay because, again, this is part of the sound design process. It really is just whatever you want it to be. I'm not looking to retain this kick drum sound, although it is really good. I know what I was going after. So here's the thing too, is that this kick drum without the processing has a lot of subby low end. That's going to kind of like disappear when we add the bass line in. Let's give that a listen and see. I got a 808 bass here hitting right over the kick, and let's just kind of see what it sounds like without the processing on and how that low end is going to interact with this 808. Let's hear it in the context of the beat I was making. So this here is the original kick before any phase alignment, the 3 kicks. This is the 3 kicks phase aligned, the printed track. And this here is the process kick in blue with all of the plugins on. And just listen to the low end bass, how it interacts with the original kick. They're all hitting -6. So I think you'll be pretty impressed at what this little sound design technique was able to do for the production process, because now as I make the beat, I know exactly what I'm going to expect in the mixing stage. So give it a listen.